Liv, we're here for another Real Talk sesh.
It is Liv.
And Leonie.
And we are Real Talk and very happy to be back in your ears.
And we can't wait to give you all the info around life updates. And
what are we
today
talking
we're talking about date night and does it fix everything?
Does my deep husky voice when I go, give it all the ending away? I think it might. Anyway, we'll get to that. But first I need to tell you a bit of a story and I need your view because I'm a bit conflicted by this story. Party season. I mean, doesn't it always feel like party season? Kids' parties every weekend between sport, kids' parties.
There's the
it's
weekend.
5 o'clock on Sunday.
Right.
There it goes again.
Yes.
Anyhow, context for this. Now, I'm very interested in our listeners' views on this too, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. Yep. Anyhow, girlfriend had a party recently and invited a number of kids. For context, this party was not a per head cost. So it was, numbers weren't really an issue. Yeah. Anyway, sends the invites out. One of the parents says, would love to come. So, Johnny would love to come. Can the sibling attend the party too? Okay. To which the Mum said, yeah, absolutely, no worries. I think it was very last minute, like the day before or something like that. Okay. And it wasn't a party in a situation where, this kid could just go off and do whatever they want in the setting that they were in. Yeah. Anyhow, so we get to the party day and my girlfriend comes up to me to tell me this story, what's happened in the last 24 hours, and says, do you think it's weird that the parent has just dropped the kid to the party? I was like, no, that's not weird. We all leave kids at parties. Yeah, yeah. She's like, no, the weird bit is that the sibling is here too, who I do not know, and I now feel responsible. It was fine for the kid to come to the party, but I thought the parent would be there to supervise them, and now I feel responsible. I hadn't really thought about doing food or a lolly bag because I thought they would just be adjacent to the party, not at the party. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of weird. I totally get that.
I get that in the way that I think about our birthday parties that we've had, or even ones where one of our children have been invited, the other will often, we'll ask. Or actually, if we do ask, then I'm typically there with the older kid. Or let's say that Charlie, my youngest, was invited to a party. I'm typically rocking up with Noah as well, and I'm kind of like hanging with Noah because also Noah doesn't know Charlie's friends and isn't necessarily going to hang with Charlie's friends as much. Or there's times where it's like I'm thinking Mopar.
But that's totally cool if you're there and you're kind of attending and like paying for Charlie. Like say it's Noah, you're paying for Charlie's entry and just doing that. Yeah. I think that's fine.
What threw her off was the fact that the parents just dumped both kids and left.
Parent was like, here are my 2 kids. What time does the party finish? Yeah. I'll see you then. And she was taken back because she was like, oh, I didn't plan for that and that's caught me off surprise and it's fine. Yeah. Bye, see you when the party finishes. But it just became like she was a little stressed by it and I totally get it because the kid did want a lolly bag. Yeah. Thankfully, she had been somewhat prepared and like threw some lollies into a paper bag and was like, off you go. Yeah. But it was it was a party where it was hard. A lot could have gone wrong at this party. Like it was quite an active party.
And you do feel like when you're the parent of the person holding the party, you want it all to go smoothly. You're busy, getting this over here in the kitchen and getting that organised to then supervise an additional child that doesn't have a parent.
I'll ask you the question and then you can answer if my conflict on this is right or wrong. Yeah. So the question would be, you have Charlie has been invited to a party. You have texted the person to say, can Noah come? Yep. You drop Charlie and Noah and beat it. Yep. You also don't know this family at all. Okay, so that's probably some additional context. Yeah. Would you do that? Is it normal?
I'd feel no. But the other thing when I do it,
tell me.
When I do it, we probably have people sitting there going, I don't see what the problem is. That's cool. You can challenge us, please.
Please challenge us. It's just the first time it's happened, and it's probably because we're at the age where parents are leaving. And to be clear, I am totally cool with parents leaving one child at a party. That's the child you've been invited. But I'm not cool with a childminding service, no matter how old the other child is.
And the other thing is, often when I do drop the child off and I have to leave, for example, at a party, I'm often speaking to one of the other parents who might be hanging around and saying, would you mind just keeping an eye on Charlie? I'll be back in 30 minutes or whatever. And it's not necessarily the person who's holding the party because I'm just to look after my child because I'm just so mindful they've got enough to worry about. I hear you. Oh, party politics
There we
and
go,
etiquette.
party
I feel like there's a
politics.
whole. I'm going to throw that to the audience next time, and
Yeah,
let's see
I'd love
what
to
people
know.
think.
It's just a whole minefield
No,
that we're trying to navigate.
I totally hear
Anyway,
you. And look,
I need help. Just need to understand what is real and what's not.
and in 6 months' time, we'll be sitting here going, you know, we were worrying about that stuff. I mean,
No,
who
it'll be
cares?
me. Do you mind if I drop my other child off? I really need to go and do a couple of errands. I have been absolutely slammed this week. So maybe I just need to learn and be open and
Maybe we're newbies to the situation. So talking about reaching out to our audience, I thought it'd be really fun to ask people how they felt about date night. So Liv, I would love your thoughts. I'm going to throw some questions to you and you let me know what you think our community has said. So how often do you date night? So I had like 4 to 12 weeks. We don't date night, 2 to 4 weeks, or once a week. Where do you think people sit on where do you think the biggest category
I think
is?
the majority are in we don't.
Don't.
do
Okay.
date night.
Okay.
Or if they do,
Yes.
it's in the greatest character. Was
4
that
to
4 to
12
6?
weeks.
4 to 12
Yes.
weeks. Yes.
So 4 to 12 weeks was 60% of
Okay,
people.
okay.
And the next category, you're right, was we don't do date night,
Okay.
which is 23%.
Yeah.
So there you go. So for those of you sitting there going, date night, what? What even is that? You are not alone, okay? Most people are doing that
We
too.
are talking to the date night queen, so why don't you give us the definition of a date night?
So date night is when you and your partner are able to get away from the children in whatever capacity that is, whether that's having a picnic on your living room floor with Uber Eats as the kids are sleeping, or you're able to go out. And I think that's kind of the perception is more being able to leave the home and have a little
babysitter
night,
or
whatever
have
that
the
looks like.
grandparents or have some friends
Exactly,
look
and have
after the
some
kids.
adult time. So, and I do love a date night, but I think I'm slipping more into the 4 to 12 week category as well. Where are you at with a date night?
I think I'm in
we don't have them?
the obvious. Did my answer give it away? We don't call. I mean, I think you're really good at calling them date. Like
Probably.
I know you talk about it.
Yeah.
It is a functional part of your relationship that you create this space, however often you can around life, and you do that together. And I've always admired that about you. I think Mark and I try to be well intentioned with date nights, but we just don't do them.
It's hard.
And do you know why we don't do them? Because every time we do them, I am totally stressed about getting to date night, and then it never goes the way that I have imagined it will go in my head, because often I am stressed or often I've had a few too many pre-drinks, and then I roll into dinner and I'm like, great, we're here now, let's talk about life, and he doesn't start the conversation the way that I would like.
You're like, entertain me.
And then he says, you're being like that again. And I say, what's that? And then we pay the bill, which is usually some ridiculous, stupid amount of money. And I've had a terrible time. Then I go home, I turn over in bed and I go, well, that was fun.
I'd rather go out with Leonie.
I much prefer.
I like our date nights. Our date nights are great.
Our date nights are the best. I don't know. I think that's just like where we've been probably the last couple of times. We had a few failed attempts just purely because of what's been going on in life.
Like people are stressed. Like we're stressed. And when you enter an environment where you are a little stressed and edgy, I mean, how hard is it to get away? It's so hard. Like babysitters coming, you're nervous about the kids having eaten their food or they know what to do. And,
Mark said to me after this this is exactly what I did at our last date night. And he just said, I much prefer it when we're at home after the kids and we don't need to go somewhere fancy. We don't need to get dressed up. We don't need to spend the money on the babysitter. I much prefer to just sit on the couch and watch a movie with you. And if that can be our date night.
Yes.
And I went, oh, okay, that works for me too. And I can absolutely make the time and energy and space to be able to do that.
Yes.
So I think that's where we will go with our date nights.
I hear you on that pressure front. Like often we sit down, finally we're at the restaurant with the white, what do they call the towel?
You do a shot on entry with Jules.
No, no
just
shots
our
on
thing.
entry. That's just for us, babe. But, with the white tablecloths and, you sit there and you're like, oh, you've ordered your drink. This is my other thing. As soon as if they take too long to come to my table to give me my drink,
You
I'm
and I are
literally like
spicy.
edgy.
I
I'm
know.
like, Melbourne service, let's go.
Yeah.
Because we're spoiled in Melbourne. We have such great restaurants out there that, like, if someone's not beelining for my table by the time I've literally put my ass to the seat. I'm pissed off. I'm like, oh my God, how long does it take to get a good drink here? Finally you get, and then I order a martini, obviously, usually to start with, and that takes 45 minutes to prepare. So I'm like, oh
You
my
and
God,
I
I'm
are
so anxious.
so easily triggered. I mean, I'm the exact same. That's how date night goes wrong. And I hate that about myself, but it's because you just.
You're like on edge, and then finally the martini arrives and you sit there and you take a sip and you're like, okay, I can semi-simmer now. Like I can semi-tolerate you. Let's go. What do you got? And you're right.
Where's the agenda? Right, now let's work through all the agenda items.
Entertain me. And if you're not entertaining, it's like, oh my God, like Jesus. And you do
I'm
feel
so
pressure
relieved
sometimes.
it's not just me. I feel really bad sometimes. Our poor husbands having to put up with our high maintenance, trigger happy wives.
You know what's hilarious? I say one of the poll questions was, do you feel pressure to have date night? Do you think people felt pressure?
No.
Yeah, 70% said no. But then I did say, does date night reconnect you as a couple?
No.
100% no.
But yes,
what do you think?
Yes, I do think, and I'm telling these funny stories because they're much more
'Cause we
enjoyable
like to
for
be
all.
entertaining.
We like to be entertaining, and you don't want to hear about Mark and I sitting holding hands across the table, whispering sweet nothings into each other's ear. Let's face it. But no, having time together, whatever that looks like, movie night at a restaurant. Absolutely away from the kids.
Yeah.
We've spoken about this before. I know you do similar things. We just try at least once a year, try and have a weekend away from the kids. That is a absolute game changer.
Reset button.
So important to actually go away properly, to have that undivided time and space rather than, we've got to get home for the babysitter, which I think also stresses me out.
Yes, the pressure. You're like, I've got 2 hours. Let's come on, hurry up with that martini.
Yeah.
I can't even speak until it's arrived here, So it's interesting that you say that, and I do think you're right. I can very much settle into more relaxed mode when we are away for a period of longer than 2 hours. I asked the audience, do you have babysitters to help? Do you have a babysitter that you can call on?
We do. Yeah, we do. And I've opted for that. Again, I hear myself talking. I'm like, Mum's listening and she's going to be like, oh, that's why you do it. I do that so that my mum won't judge how much I've had to drink, how many martinis I've had on the way when I get home. My other gorgeous babysitter does definitely not judge me. But also the boys absolutely adore her. She is one of the day care staff that they had since they were babies, and it's been beautiful to be able to maintain a relationship with her, and she'll be invited to their 21st guaranteed. So she has helped us, and for date nights I typically like to use her.
But do you find as well, now that the kids are a bit older, our children are 5 and 7, that they're much, but my kids look forward to a babysitter. They're something
same.
different.
Yeah.
Whereas when they were little, obviously it was a lot harder, right? And that's a shout out to the parents listening who have children under the age of 4, call it. Yeah. It is really difficult. You're worried about getting them into bed and mummy don't leave and all this stuff. And it is even harder to sort of pull yourself away. Well, it's interesting you say that. So 70% of the people who said, yes, we do have a babysitter. And then I sort of threw it out to the audience. I said, how do you reconnect with your partner? Some people said things like chatting after the kids go to sleep, morning coffee catch-ups, before work. I love that idea for couples who could do that.
You're triggered by that?
I am so triggered by that. Like me in the morning, I'm not social. I'm like, my mind's like, these are all the things I have to do today. A-type personality, can't lose a minute. And if Jules was like, come and sit down and have a coffee with me, I'd be like,
how's your day looking?
I am not zen in the mornings. Hit me up at about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm a little bit more zen. So, would you do a morning?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Having said that, my love language is acts of service. So way of Mark and I connecting is he will often, if I haven't left for work, bring me a coffee in bed on my work from home days.
Yeah.
That for me is a way of connecting because acts of service, as I've said, love language. So anytime he does something like that, I am like, that is connection. That's really important to me. Yeah, that helps our relationship because that's what drives connection.
100%. It's funny you say that because I did a bit of research as to, does date night actually fix everything? And the unanimous response or my thorough research that I spent, half a day doing. No, I didn't. But really in the top Google searches, we're all talking about the fact that date night is a great thing, but it certainly doesn't fix everything like we know. But it is things that, like, decreasing the mental load for our partners or, finding little moments of intimacy where you can, or, feeling backed up, feeling like you're a team. And that can create intimacy and therefore reconnection because you're like, wow, I'm not in this on my own. And you see me and you hear me and you're validating me. So
I just couldn't agree more with that. You've got to look at the much bigger picture and kind of have little bits of all of this undivided time, attention together to create that intimacy, but also just supporting each other through
generally
life. Putting those bins out, doing those dishes, getting the uniform. Like Mark got the uniform ready. Usually I'd be like, can you get the uniform ready? Yeah. He did it like I hadn't prompted him, and I just went, it's that little thing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for doing that.
Such a big thing.
It's huge.
And I'm, an advocate for technology, as many of us are. And I often, Friday night we do our pizza nights. The boys are allowed to, they'll watch their show or they'll be on their iPad or whatever, and mum and dad can have a chat. Yeah. We can actually sit down, have a glass of wine as we're preparing homemade pizzas. It's our little routine on a Friday, and we are like, go for gold on the technology because guess what? This is kind of our weekly date night.
I mean, that is family date night. Right. How special for the kids to see mum and dad in the kitchen enjoying each other's company, preparing a meal, really good for connection.
Because, otherwise just two ships in the night most of the week.
I think where we're getting to with this episode is we're thinking about date night a little bit differently. We're not going to the fancy restaurants that once upon a time we love to be out and flick our hair at. It's just about real quality connection, and that can sometimes mean that your kids are there too.
100%. And I think it is being super mindful of those moments and sort of making the most of them, and and not comparing yourself to others. I know, for example, I had Steph Claire Smith on this podcast, and she spoke about the fact that once a week her mum, this was a little while ago, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but at the time, once a week her mum would take the baby for a sleepover when they had one child only, and they could go off and have their date night. And I'm like, wow. Versus, Ash Pollard I spoke to last year, who was like, I've got two kids that we're trying to wrangle. Date night, what? Like, we're in the midst of chaos, and we're lucky that we even like each other right now because the support really plays into it. So don't compare yourself to others, I think, is the takeaway here, and look for those little snippets of time, that will help you reconnect. All right, guys. Well, we'll leave it there.
I like sharing that. I'm going to go organise a date night.
Love it. Catch you next time, Liv.
Bye.